Now talking about my number 5 case on the list, it's going to be going to the CS20 case. Now if you've watched my channel for a while, you know I'm not really the biggest fan of this case, and there's actually pretty good reason for it. If we want to talk about the statistics, this one does not keep up with the rest of the cheaper rare cases in terms of competition. It's got lower demand, it's got lower supply, which is actually a good thing in this case, but if we want to look at it overall, it's definitely not my first choice. However, there are some pretty decent things about the CS20. First of all, it's usually one of the ones that's the first to drop when we're talking about the cheaper rare cases, which right now has led to a pretty incentivizing price point of only around $1.80 with a good buy order, which is quite solid, honestly speaking. And when we talk about the demand, although it is definitely lower, the supply is estimated to be lower, so it kind of balances out a little bit. It does have some decent skins inside of it. It's got trade up potential, so your ROI isn't terrible. It's an okay case, but it's definitely not my number one. Skinland is today's sponsor, and if you're looking to sell your CS2 skins, they are the number one spot. Now with Valve's latest update, you have to wait 7 days to go ahead and get your money, but with Skinland, you're going to be able to get the best rate possible with a $10 free bonus on your first trade. Now don't forget to use code MasterShiny for that bonus, and the best part about this is they are one of the first to bring this back, and they are the most safe option to sell your CS2 skins for cash. They've also got a massive marketplace if you're looking to pick up some CS2 skins as well, significantly cheaper than the Steam market. I sell on Skinland for the best rate, so don't wait. Now talking about your favorite in-gallery cases, two very interesting and prominent cases inside of the case market right now. We've got a huge problem when it comes to these two specifically, and that's obviously the fact that they have been in the active area for you to obtain them for about a year for the gallery, and we're approaching a fair amount for the fever, and therefore we've got a fair amount of supply, but we're left in a position where we don't know when that supply is going to be cut off. That's the biggest piece of profit when it comes to the fever and the gallery case, is whenever they get removed, they're going to shoot up in price. They're obviously going to be a great investment provided that they are discontinued from that point. They've actually been rising a little bit over the past couple of weeks. I will say this is a huge opportunity, but I don't know if I would expressly make an investment into it just yet. We obviously need to see them get removed before they're going to go anywhere higher than maybe $1 or $1.05. Now the number 4 case on my list is going to be going to the snakebite case. Now the snakebite case is one of my favorite cases when we're talking about the current market. It's one that shot up in price over the past 6 months significantly. It's really solid. It's one of the most demanded rare cases when we're talking about it right now, and it's one of the cheapest rare cases you can get into. It's got everything you're looking for except for one major thing, and that's obviously what we just mentioned. Price point on this thing is not exactly super cheap anymore. It's definitely not one that you're going to be able to get into for 50 or 60 cents anymore. Now I personally really like everything about the snakebite case, and I think it's got a very strong and prosperous future ahead of it, but I will definitely say it is a little bit risky. Even though it hasn't pulled back at all from its like 90 to 92 cent price point, there is that problem with the fact that it was so cheap just a couple months ago that people in the back of their minds are a little bit more hesitant on this case specifically moving forward. Now talking about our active duty cases, I'm gonna go ahead and exclude two right off the bat. That's going to be the Kilowatt and that's going to be the Revolution. Being that they are the two newest, the fact that they would get removed at this point seems extremely unlikely. You got 3 left. You get your Dreams and Nightmares, your Recoil, and your Fracture. Dreams and Nightmares is one that people have looked at to make a quick buck off, but when we're talking about investing, that's not personally what I like to do. Instead, you're left with the Recoil and the Fracture case, both of which are decent options in terms of probably getting removed next, but if we want to look at it, we haven't seen a case come into the actual active drop pool in over a year. I would personally just wait and hold off and probably invest afterwards. I think it's a little bit more of a safe play, especially with how volatile they are, but if they get down to a low enough price point, active duty cases can be one of the best investments you can make. It's just figuring out what is that low enough price point, and it's hard to tell. The number 3 case on my list is going to be going to the Clutch. Now I really like the Clutch all around. I think it's one of the most solid investments you can make right now, and the best part about it is it's not going to be running you as much as one of those more expensive but still cheaper rare cases. You're only looking at maybe $1.30, $1.40 when we're talking about the Clutch. I would say when we're looking at the statistics of it, it also racks up quite nicely. With a buy order, you can get a little bit lower, but talking about those unboxing numbers, they are still extremely solid for the Clutch case. Still one of the most demanded rare cases right now. Even though the supply on this thing and the amount of time it's been out is extremely long, it's still one that's in a very strong position. It's not anything special in terms of ROI, but people have really been loving unboxing the Clutch case, probably just because of how cheap it is and how expensive some of those gloves can get. Now talking about your discontinued cases, there is a very strong opportunity here, but it really comes down to the opportunity cost. These are extremely expensive when we're talking about our Shattered Web, our Riptide, and our Broken Fang cases. The esports ones don't really matter at all in my personal opinion. Therefore, I would say if you've got the budget and you want something that's most likely going to be very safe, these are great opportunities, but I think you're going to be able to get a lot better return somewhere else with just the slightest bit of risk. These ones are not guaranteed to go up, but they are in a position where no more supply is being created. I like them obviously long term, but I don't know about the opportunity cost if it's going to be worth it for how expensive these these cases already are. Now talking about the two kind of forgotten cases, we've got the Falchion and we've got the Shadow, two of which we don't ever talk about, and that's for good reason. Honestly, they're not terrible investments if we want to look at the price point. They're extremely cheap compared to some of these really old cases, but they run into one major problem. That's going to be the fact that no one really wants to unbox these much because the rare special item inside of them is so cheap. No one wants to get Shadow Daggers or a Falchion knife worth $100 on a case like this, and that leads a lot of people to just kind of avoid them in general, even if the ROIs aren't actually too bad inside of it because the reds are extremely expensive. Now if you're looking for some solid stable options, my number one choice is probably going to be the Revolver. It used to make this list a lot until it got a little bit more expensive than I was comfortable putting it on this list because the growth is just not there anymore for an older case like that. With that being said, I still think it's a very solid position, and one long term is in a very decent and optimal position for a case of its age. It's just a little bit more expensive than obviously I would like to see it. Otherwise, you also have the Spectrum 2, which I think is in a very stable position. It's one that I would say is definitely a good choice when we're talking about the longevity because it's got those butterfly knives, which people are always going to be very desired for. Now, my number 2 case on my list is going to be one of my favorites. It's going to be the Danger Zone case. Now, the Danger Zone case is one of the most optimal positions we can really ask for as a rare case. The unboxing demand on it is extremely strong, and if we want to look at the fundamentals consistently, it is one of the top cases we look at. Obviously, it's not the snakebite anymore, so it's not in number 1 or anything like that, but it's a very solid position and one consistently that is on the perfect trajectory of what we want to see for a case at its age and position. Talking about price, it's definitely not the cheapest anymore, coming in at just over $2, which isn't terrible. I think this one has got very good competition in the Horizon case because it's not necessarily a direct competitor. It's a little bit different, a little bit more expensive, which is really good for the Danger Zone case in the current market. When we're talking about everything about the Danger Zone case, honestly, it's got everything you look for. It's got trade ups inside of it. It's got the opportunity to continue moving forward. I really like the Danger Zone case, and that's why it's at number 2 in this list because it's a very solid option. And lastly, without a doubt, number 1 on my list is going to be going to the Prisma 1 and the Prisma 2 cases, both of which are actually even right now, and I would highly suggest you choose the Prisma 2 over the Prisma 1 based off all the long-term trends we see inside of this area, but I really like both of them and I wouldn't sell one for the other. They've got some of the best unboxing numbers when we're talking about a cheaper rare case, and consistently they are in a position where they've been growing in tandem. Usually the Prisma 2 does break away a little bit, but the fundamentals on these are extremely strong. The supply doesn't appear to be anything too crazy, and when we're talking about everything that we like in a case, they've got it. Prisma 1 has a little bit better ROI, Prisma 2's got a little bit better in terms of the skins department for some people. Both of these have shown such great long-term demand, and they're definitely not ones that are going to be falling off tomorrow. For me, the fact that they have gotten this cheap in price point down to around $2 and even below with a good buy order is a perfect opportunity because I really like these cases long-term, but that's my personal opinion. Make sure you're always choosing your own cases and such. But that's all I got. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.